Welcome back to another episode of the Fab Fatties. I'm Allie.
Alyssa. Rebecca.
Today we have a truly special guest joining us. You might remember her as the standout star and finalist from the Great British Baking Show in 2020, where she won our hearts with her sense of humor, positive outlook, and her delightfully messy baking. Since then, she's become a beacon of body positivity and self-acceptance, amassing a huge following on social media. She is the host of the now archived but much loved podcast Go Love Yourself, which made waves with its candid discussions on body confidence. And let's not forget her debut book, Diet Starts Monday, a no bullshit guide to living a full and happy life just as you are, without succumbing to the pressures of diet culture. Blech. We're thrilled to have Laura Adlington with us today to share her insights on body positivity, plus size fashion, and more. Laura, welcome to the Fab Fatties.
Thank you so much for having me. I'm so excited to join you.
We are so excited to have you, Laura. So the first thing we want to really dive into today is kind of your journey, right? We know that obviously you didn't just pop into existence, right? When you jumped on the Great British Baking Show. Big fan, by the way. So I just want to know a little bit more about you before the Great British Baking Show, and then obviously afterwards too.
Okay, so Bake Off, or you guys call it the Great British Baking Show, don't you?
Yeah.
I was working in an office and I wasn't miserable, but I wasn't very happy. I had like a really boring 9 to 5, and yeah, I just was kind of baking for fun, really, as a bit of an escapism, I think, really, from my life. And then my husband suggested, and my sister-in-law suggested I applied. I did, and it just completely changed my life in ways that I could never have imagined. Like, I feel like, yeah, I'm the happiest I've ever been, and it just completely did a 180 for me. And the actual experience was really quite stressful and intense because we did it during COVID year and we had to like kind of bubble up in this hotel. So while I kind of say that I didn't really love the experience on the whole, like some of it anyway, or most of it, I'm so grateful for it because yeah, it really has been amazing since.
Yeah.
It does seem like a moment of saying yes to something, and then it completely opens up new roads for your life. So I think that's a amazing thing for anyone. Like, your life can be going in one direction. You say yes to one cool opportunity and suddenly you have new options.
Yeah.
Definitely. And I think I very nearly didn't do the show because I was worried. I was thinking like, oh God, like, I'm plus size woman on TV. Like, am I going to get really trolled for that? Am I going to, am I putting myself just out for abuse, really? But I think it was a real lesson for me, and hopefully maybe some others as well, just to say, don't let fear or fear of other people's opinions hold you back. And actually, like, you only get one life and it's really short. So go ahead and do the thing that scares you.
Yeah,
I'd really,
sorry, Ellie, to jump on you, but I'd really love to know a little bit more about that because you took a risk, and if I think of my own body image issues and the way I'm always fearful of being, seen or portrayed, you went on a baking show as a plus size woman, right? You're like in the kitchen around food. How did you navigate feedback from that? And how did you, I don't know, take it, use it, and decide to keep going anyways?
I think so. The first thing I ever read about myself online, it was a local newspaper had run a story saying, like, it was kind of like local girl does good type thing, and the first comment said, looks like someone's been eating all the practice cakes. And then someone replied saying, and everyone else's. And this was a local newspaper, like really, like we're talking kind of quite small fry, like we're not talking sort of Daily Mail. And I was like, wow, I've literally just been announced and this is, okay, like this is what's to come. And so I think growing up bigger, you definitely have to develop a thick skin, like forgive the kind of pun, but you do, because you have this kind of armor, because you are kind of, you expect and anticipate comments and negativity, and everyone's got an opinion and comments on your body. So I was kind of aware that would happen, and I must admit I did feel quite low and quite anxious at that point. But I can honestly say that it wasn't actually that bad. Like, there weren't that many comments about my weight, and it was the negative was completely outweighed by the positive, because people were messaging me saying, it's amazing to see a plus size person around food and being confident around
Yes.
food, because I think that's quite a big issue for a lot of us as well. Is and like I've had to really teach myself this, and like if I need to eat in public because I'm hungry and I'm on my own, I'm going to just do it. But I think for a lot of us, whatever your size actually, but especially if you're plus size, that fear of being around food in public, or like being having to be seen as like the good fatty and like ordering a salad,
Yes.
you don't want that. Or yeah, like not eating or eating a small amount. And so it was really nice to have that positive representation, I think. Was trying to be that because I didn't really have that growing up.
Yeah.
That's amazing.
Yeah.
I love that the positive feedback really showed up, because we talk a lot about representation and representation in media and on TV, and I think it's really, really amazing. So I'm glad that people took the time to connect and reach out, because
Yeah.
sometimes it's the haters who reach out more than the people who are liking and following along. So that's really amazing.
Yeah,
Yeah.
no, I totally agree. Because as someone who I love watching cooking shows, I love watching baking shows, I love cooking and I love baking, and um, you were really the first person that really stood out to me. I'm like, okay, someone who looks like me is on this show, right? And COVID was a difficult time for a lot of people, right? But it was a very difficult time for me, and my body was changing, and I was having to learn, new ways to love myself. And here you are on my screen, baking these beautiful concoctions. And I'm just like, wow, I had never seen up until this point someone who looks like me that is just unapologetically appreciating food. Right. And I do think that's so important. Like you said, like Alyssa said, the representation has just not been there. And I absolutely loved it.
Hey everyone, did you know that the Fab Fatties are on Patreon? Yes, we are. And you can follow us for more behind the scenes chaos. We have bloopers, we have Allie raging, we have, me climbing out windows. I don't know. We just have a bunch of crazy stuff over there. Yeah, so you can find us on Patreon. That's
P
PATREON
T EON .com / the Fab Fatties.
PATEON.
No.
PATREON.
PATREON.
That's what I said.
.com / the Fab Fatties.
And we will see you over there.
Oh, I'm so genuinely so pleased. Like, it really means a lot. And I think, for lots of us growing up, like we didn't see ourselves represented like in TV, on films, magazines, unless that person was being made fun of or called out for.
Yep.
Like, look at her, she's gained weight. And I think when we do see plus size representation, a lot of the time we're kind of tokenized, or like our size is who we are. Like, it's the biggest part of, like, it's the narrative. And so, and yeah, and our size is like the only interesting thing about us, and it's the whole storyline. I remember This Is Us. I don't know if you have seen that show. I love it
Yep.
so much. But it came under a bit of fire, I think, in the first season, because like Chrissy Metz's character her whole storyline was about her weight. And I'm so glad they shifted that. I think things hopefully are changing a little bit, but there's definitely not enough representation out there.
Yeah, and I think that's why, like, you being part of the Great British Baking Show, again, the American name is stuck in my mind, is nice, because I don't know, as an American viewer, we have a lot of reality TV in America, okay? And a lot of Americans are pitted against each other in the reality TV that we watch. And so then, what, as an American viewer, we do kind of go to the Great British Baking Show as a place of comfort and solace. That's why the holiday specials do so well here too, because I'm like, are British people just nicer than Americans? But also the way they tell y'all storylines is different. Like, even in scripted shows, because I've watched my Mad Fat Diary and things like that, like, I just feel like in the scripted shows and the reality TV that I've watched, it's a little bit more nuanced. And what I love about the Great British Baking Show is that they do kind of go into each of your backstories and what you're interested in and what inspires that recipe. And there is such a diverse cast that it didn't feel like, oh, Laura's casted because she's going to represent all plus size people everywhere, right? This is Laura. She has an interesting story, and she bakes and she does really cool things, and she happens to be plus size. And those are always going to feel like more special moments to me as a viewer, because I get to see you as a whole person. It's not just through only one part of who you are.
Yeah.
So that felt special to me as a viewer.
I think that's the magic of the show in that it's very wholesome and it's not scripted, and it literally, as you see people represented, is how they are. And I think they generally only pick nice people, and also because you're not competing for this like massive prize, you're literally competing for a cake stand, and so I think, and everyone's got each other's backs and wanting everyone to do well. And we all actually said to each other right from the beginning, we're not competing with each other, we're competing with the judges. Like, we're just trying to impress them and do our best for us. And that's really why I wanted to go on the show. Like, I was a huge fan before. I would race home every night, every Tuesday, and watch the show religiously. So yeah, to be on it was really special.
I really only have one more question about the show itself.
Yeah.
Does Paul Hollywood smell good?
Do you know what he does? He smells great.
I just feel like he's a man that like knows his cologne.
Yeah,
You know what? I get that. Yeah.
yeah. Do you know, I never really got the whole like Paul Hollywood thing, like, as in, I can appreciate that he's a really attractive guy, but he didn't really do anything for me. And then because I was away for 7 weeks, by week 6 he lifted up his shirt once to get his mic changed, and I must have just been really missing my husband or something, but I was like, oh hello. I see it now.
Like suddenly it's come
You're
to
like,
me.
oh, okay.
You're like,
okay.
now I get it.
Clocked it. All right.
Yeah. But no, he does smell very nice.
That's
Okay.
too funny.
You know what? I never really thought about that, but now as you say it, I'm like,
He just looks well
He
groomed.
does look like he would smell like
Yeah.
and bathed, and I think that's an important thing.
Bathed.
We love
That
that, in a
man looks
you know?
like he takes
the
a
bar
shower.
is so low for men, just well groomed and bathed.
So how did you? So I don't know your story, obviously before the show. How did that segue into you doing work in body confidence?
Completely by accident, genuinely.
Okay.
And it was because I was getting all these messages from women saying like, what are you wearing? What was your dress on the show? I loved it. I can't find any clothes that fit me. Or from women saying like, where do you get your confidence from? Can I have some? Like, I'm really struggling with my weight. Messages from women all over the world, all different shapes and sizes, but generally plus size women. And I thought, do you know what? There's something here. Like, there's clearly like this kind of gap, and like they're not getting it. And at the time, I think there were very few creators like online talking about being like plus size. That's not true, to be fair. Like, there's loads of them, but I think not loads of people doing like fashion and stuff like that as well. And I just fell into it by accident, and it just kind of steamrolled, and then I just kind of carried on, went from there. And then after about 9 months, I was like, okay, I think I'm ready to leave my job. Like, I'm getting work coming in, and it just sort of snowballed really from there.
That's awesome. How did you navigate that, right? So coming from a large platform, right, of and I don't know how it aired in the UK, but for us, right, you are on Netflix for us, right? So you're on a massive platform. I'm sure that taking that jump into social media, how did you navigate that?
It was tricky at first because
Yeah.
I think it's sort of like that line of like, how much do you share? How much do you hold back?
Sure.
And then I just found it, the more followers I've got, and this is still true today, like the bigger my following has grown, the harder I find to be my authentic self. And that's not, listen, it's not criticism. Like, I am so lucky and so privileged. Like, I'm literally doing my like dream job, and like it's all good. But it is hard because it feels sometimes like you can't do anything right, and there's a lot of opinions, and like even to point things like how I groom my dog is sometimes wrong, and I'm like, okay. So it can be tricky, and I think at the beginning especially I was worried about that. But what I really tried to do was just trying to think that I was just talking to my friend, and so I'd be like, what, wearing over a caption or something, and I think, how would you text that to your mate? And then I just write it out and do that. And I think also, like, this is not to sound like altruistic, like I'm some hero, but it's like I kind of just had that focus of like, my sort of dangling carrot was trying to help people. And so I think I tried to ignore the positive and just focus on like hopefully the good, and the fact that maybe if I just help one person feel less alone, or be able to help them find something that they could wear, and not just because it fit, but because it made them feel amazing, then like, as far as I'm concerned, like, job done.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Yeah. I think if we all stopped every time we got a negative comment no one would be anywhere in the world,
No.
like, and so it really does take, like you mentioned, like a thick skin to just keep going, right? But like you said, really focus in on remaining present in who you are and what you want to show about yourself. Because I know for me, like with the podcast platform, it's really emboldened me to be more authentic with my audience, but that does mean opening yourself and more aspects of your life to criticism or opinions, right? And it's like you mentioned with your dog, I mean, just some of it is like, do we really need to comment on every little aspect of everything? And yet we also know that there are people who, again, want to see us as full humans, who have animals, who have, all those things, right? And so it's just a process of not letting the no's or the negatives stop you.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah. And I think just for our viewers and our listeners who may not be, fangirls like we are, I would love it. I would love it if you could just tell us a little bit more about how you use your platforms to promote body confidence and body positivity. Because I've been following you for years, and I love everything that you do. But yeah, if you could tell them about it, that would be great.
Yeah, of course. Yeah. So I started doing sort of mainly like sort of segueing into fashion a little bit. And then I started talking about sort of how hard it was to find clothes, especially growing up, not so much now because we've got online. And then I kind of started to segue a little bit into like body confidence and acceptance. And I think confidence came up and still comes up time and time again. I think it's a really big issue for plus size women, a lot of them anyway. And so really I try and share as much as I can, like just from my experience, my experience growing up, the fat kid, since I was like 8 years old and really struggling with my weight. I always used to say like I didn't just have a body, I was my body. I was very much defined by it, like growing up bigger. And so I started to share more about that, my issues with like food and disordered eating, and then really sort of now and more recently I'm just kind of sharing my messages is around don't live a small life just because you're bigger. So like trying to show people like, oh, I've done this really cool thing today, or I went on holiday even though I was really scared and because I had to get a seatbelt extender, like, oh, I just did it anyway. And that kind of sort of content. And then I share all sorts of like fashion stuff as well. So just the kind of like range of like body confidence and fashion really is what I'm kind of doing at the moment.
I love it.
I think what
One of us.
stood out to me the most scrolling through your social media was how welcoming, inclusive, and positive it all felt. And not toxic positivity, like genuine, we are celebrating the life we are given and come along with us. And it was really impactful as someone who hasn't been following you as long as Allie, looking through, I was like, wow, I feel a sense of belonging here. I feel a sense of being seen. And I know how hard that is. I mean, I have such a small platform, and even the podcast as we're building up, like we have not nearly reached an audience that size, and yet we still sometimes struggle to keep it positive. Because sometimes when you're putting your authentic self out there and people are commenting hurtful things, it really does take
A toll?
it just does something dirty to you. Like, I don't know what else to say other than it feels like shit. And it was just, I think that it just kind of hit me being like, wow, like you have such a big platform and you are still able to keep the space. It felt sacred for other big women. And I mean, complete kudos to you, because that is not an easy task. And I really think it sends such a strong message.
Thank you. That like genuinely, that is, what I've been trying to create. And I have days, literally yesterday, I was like, I don't want to do it anymore. Just feels really superficial and like fake. And this is like too much. Like, I just don't want to do it anymore. But hearing that, actually, that's really, it's lovely. I think I wanted a place where people felt like seen and heard and represented and not like the butt of the joke. And there's like a reel I did recently and it went viral, and so people think going viral was brilliant, and it's not. It's horrible because it goes on the wrong side of the
Oh my
internet.
god.
Oh my gosh.
But it was about a comment that I got saying stop promoting obesity, and that's something that I don't know if you guys get, but I get all the time.
Yep.
Mm-hmm.
And I
Mm-hmm.
just literally responded with like, I'm not promoting obesity, I'm just fat and don't hate myself.
Yeah.
Yep.
And that resonated with so many like women, because I think that's the one negative I would say, like for me is that's the one that hurts. Not when people are like, you fat cow, die. I've had death, I've had all sorts. I'm not saying they don't bother me, but they kind of just like, oh, I'm like, grow up. But the
Yeah.
ones where they say you're promoting obesity, as if I'm literally down in, in the high street with a big banner saying this way to McDonald's and please
Yeah.
like look like me, everyone must
Yeah.
look. I'm not saying that. I'm just like, I'm just big. Listen, I've tried to be small. I've tried every single diet. They don't work. They're toxic. They're absolutely awful. Diet culture is horrendous. It's horrific. What is so wrong with just going, hey, I'm in the body I am, like it or don't follow me? Like, that's literally where I'm at.
Yeah, I feel
Say
like
it louder, girl. Say it louder.
I feel like the whole glorifying obesity thing, it just means that we're out here in fat bodies living pretty glamorous lives. And like,
Yeah.
stay mad, like stay mad that we are doing cool things with our lives. And like you said, like not living small lives, not feeling like we have to live an enclosed life. And if that's me glorifying, then I'm glorifying. Like I am just out here living life by my excitement, my
Yeah.
interests, my pursuits, and I feel like it's glorifying life. And if I happen to do it in a fat body, then so be it. Like
Exactly that.
too damn bad. One of the things you just said was really interesting to me is that it, you felt like it was starting to feel like superficial and stuff like that. And I do think, especially when your career is social media, that can really easily become the case because companies are asking for certain things. You need to put out a certain image. It was funny the other day I was trying to figure out our pitch deck for when we want to go to sponsors, and I was like, we say bitch in that one, and I was like, girl, we're going to say cuss words, and I think when you're trying to make yourself palatable for businesses and things like that, it can feel very superficial after a while. So how do you maintain how do you make sure that at the end of the day your content still serves you?
So it's a really good question. I think for me, I have always been and will always continue to be principled in like choosing and being very picky about brands that I work with. So I think that's what I don't like is when people are disingenuous and they say like, I've been using this and I really love it. And I just think you can tell. I really think you can tell. So I will say that does come with a lot of privilege and that I'm very lucky I can turn down work, but I probably turn down 30 to 40% of ads that come in because I can't do it. I can't physically say that I love something if I don't. So I've always been really picky and principled with that. And yeah, I think just trying to show up and give as much like organic content as I can. And I think the struggle that I have is like, when like I'm sharing things like links for stuff, this is what I was struggling with yesterday, and I was thinking, I hope people don't think I'm just trying to make money. Like I'm genuinely saying, like I know how hard it is to buy jeans. Here are the best ones. But sometimes I feel like all I'm doing is like selling, and I don't like that because that I get in my head about that a little bit. But I think that's something that I'll probably always struggle with.
I literally think that the way that you approach it, because I see everything that you post, and I think the way that you approach it is so it feels very genuine. It feels very authentic. It feels very like I don't like my big sister's closet, right? Like, right? Like it's just, hey, I found this really great dress and if you want it, here's where I got it, right? And it doesn't feel like, hey, I got this dress and you should buy it right now too. And here's my commission link, It feels very just like, I know it's hard to find cute stuff. I found some for you if you want it, right? I love the way that you do it. And have you, encouraged me to spend a lot of money? Yes, you have. You have. But luckily, Simply Be is not available to me in the US. So
I was gonna say, you put me on to Never Fully Dressed, and thank you. Thank you.
How amazing are their clothes? They're my
Oh
favorite.
Oh my
my
God.
gosh. I mean, there's just so few companies where it's like I haven't seen that in Plus before, which I do think like I get a little hyper about. Like I've never seen this in Plus before. I have to buy it all, and I don't.
Yeah.
But that brand really is amazing, and it actually made me think about what the content I think of yours that ends up on my feed the most is I think you call it Same Dress, Different Bodies with
Yeah.
you and
Oh
Lottie.
yeah.
And I obviously like see that you are extending that now into some in-person events, which I think is really cool
So
because
cool.
I think for me, I also feel the need to move some of my online stuff to in-person stuff. Like I need that back and forth. Um, I was rewatching it to remind myself of one of the things you and Lottie did, and it made me laugh so hard. And you're like, she's a slag. She wants her fanny out, and she's like just showing her underwear, and she's like always just popping around her underwear. And it made me follow Lottie too. And I don't follow many people who aren't plus, but I think what I love about that is like A, y'all are having fun experimenting with fashion, and like doing cool things. But B, y'all are showing how truly like friends in different sizes can support each other because, Lottie, who isn't plus size, has her own body image insecurities and talks about it. But I really love like y'all are showing how to show up for each other in those moments. As people who happen to have two different size experiences. So I'm curious how that's been like doing that series and now moving it into in-person events.
Yeah.
It's my absolute favourite thing to do. It brings me so much joy. I think we were both actually stuck in a bit of a rut. I think a year and a half ago, and we decided to do it. Actually, Lottie messaged me and said, "I've got this idea. It might sound a bit weird, but do you fancy doing this sort of series where we show what clothes look like on different sizes?" And I was like, "Yeah, go on then." And I think because it is different, and because it can get quite lonely when you're self-employed, you're working at home all the time on your own, as you guys will know. And I think, yeah, so I just love it. And I think, and like Lottie says this as well, like everyone, the comments I love to see the most are when people say, I automatically assumed everything would look better on Lottie because she's smaller, but actually this and this look better on Laura. And I think it's actually showing people and helping people understand that like you don't have to be this standard size to look good and feel good in nice clothes, and everyone deserves to look good and feel good in nice clothes, like whatever their size.
Yeah.
I love that.
Yeah, that pink never fully sequined skirt. I had to really tell myself I don't need a full-length sequin skirt. My life isn't that fancy, even though I like to pretend
I
it is.
literally was looking at the same
Listen,
one. I was
every
like, I think
single-
I need that.
The pink and red dress, was it, oh God, now I can't remember, but it was a pink and red. It was like there was this situation going on. I don't know what it was, but I had to, thank God I'm broke, basically, is what I'm saying here. But no, it's so much fun. And I love what you just said, that, and not, not that we're asking people to say, one of you looks better than the other, right?
No.
But just that people are acknowledging that, their baseline assumption is, well, it's always going to look better on a smaller body. And no, it's not about the size of your body, it's the way you carry yourself, right? And that's what we're all out here doing, right? That's what you're doing, that's what we're doing. It's just showing people that there's a different way, right? And if you want to call it glorifying obesity, fine, right? But we're just showing people that there's a different way, that you can be out here carrying yourself through this life as if you have just the one. And
Yeah.
so live it,
Exactly
put on
that.
the dress, do the, ask for the seatbelt extender, do the things, ask for
Eat the
things,
burger.
eat the burger, ask for the things that will make you a little bit more comfortable, do the things that make it a little bit more fun, and I just love what you're putting out into this world. I really
Thank you.
do.
Can we be best friends, please? Could you come over to London and we can just hang out and be best friends? Thanks.
Yes, absolutely, please.
As soon as we fix that
Sorry.
broke problem, we'll be there.
Yeah. Selfishly, I really, really want to talk to you about your book. I'm a fellow diet culture dropout.
Yay.
I'm also a recovering eating disorder girl. I've been going through recovery for the last 2 years, still actively in outpatient. So I know how harmful diet culture is, and I know how integrated. Thank you. That's what I said.
Oh, I love you.
She is the bit, 100%. She just is the bit all the time.
I know how integrated it is in literally everything, in how we connect with people, to the commercials we see, and just literally everything. So you came out with a book, Diet Starts Monday. Iconic title. I mean, So good. And I just want to hear your unfiltered thoughts and the process and how people have been responding to it, and what maybe what the book did for you within the work.
The book was really cathartic for me to kind of re-look at some of my childhood and things that happened that shaped who I am and why I have disordered eating now. I'm just like you. I'm still a work in progress. Maybe I always will be, but I definitely feel like I'm in such a better place now. Knowing that you're never going to diet again is so fucking freeing. I can't tell you. Like,
God,
it's
yes.
just like, oh, thank God, like never again, like wonderful. So really I wrote the book because I genuinely wanted to share. It was a huge passion project of mine to share like what I've learned, because I didn't want anyone else going through what I'd gone through, feeling like a piece of shit, feeling like diet starts Monday, saying that. I grew up with like really strong, intelligent women saying that all the time. Diet starts Monday, oh, I can't eat that because carbs are the enemy. And I'm like, it's so fucking boring. It's so dull, honestly. And so like, but now I've got the confidence to say like, can we talk about something else? This is really fucking dull, Karen.
Yeah.
Oh,
which is great.
so powerful.
So yeah, I just really wanted to kind of share what I had learned. And again, a bit like with the social media stuff, I was like, even if it just helps one person, then I'll have done a good job. And the response has been amazing to it, I have to say. Like I've had lots of people say like they've laughed, they've cried through it. I think again, like what we were talking about right at the top of the episode, like about not feeling represented, and I think I grew up feeling so alone, feeling like I was like the odd one out, and because I was the outcast and I was something wrong with me. And so many people I think have related to that, and I think it's also been quite eye-opening for people to kind of go, oh fuck, I really don't have to hate myself. Even my mum, bless
Yeah.
her, she was like a victim of diet culture, probably maybe even more than me in my generation. And she said to me once on the sofa, she was like, your podcast and the book and everything, she's like really helping me. And I was like, really? She said, yeah, I just genuinely thought I always had to be on a diet.
Yeah.
And I was like,
Yeah.
no, that's so sad. That's so sad. So I really love that we're like reclaiming that and just living our biggest, fat, authentic lives and just going like, yeah, this is me, and don't like it, you can literally, quite frankly, fuck off. So yeah, that's really the book in a nutshell, but more eloquent than that. I like to say.
It's
Oh no, it's perfect. I love it.
it's so powerful. It really is so powerful. And I think so much of the fat experience is intertwined in diet culture and the messaging to shrink yourself and take up less space. And I also didn't know I was allowed to not diet. Like, I think that's like what the message is. Like, if you're fat, you just need to be on a diet so you're not fat. Existing as fat never was an option. So I just think anything that continues to do that work and spread that message is just so badass.
Oh, yeah.
Thank you. I appreciate that.
It is funny. One of the things that you said, and I think it was in the last topic we were talking about, but just about, how fucking boring, right? I, I have found that sometimes I am the bigger person, but I'm not always the bigger person. Okay. And sometimes my rage gets the best of me.
Sometimes.
And sometimes.
Oh.
And listen, the thing is, Laura, is that people like to tell me how I should behave when it comes to online trolling, right? And it's, oh, just ignore them, just this, just pretend they don't exist, just shake it off, just this. And it's like, well, here's the thing. They are allowed to have their own opinions. They're allowed to have all of these things, freedom of speech, whatever, right? They are not allowed to decide how I react, right? And usually it's when I react that I'm the problem, right? But it was what you said about, just talking about diets and how boring it is and everything. One of my favorite things now, or one of my favorite retorts has become, and if anybody wants to use this, you're more than welcome to. One of my favorite retorts has now become, I'm sorry, you're terrified of calories, so I have nothing to learn from you, sir. And it truly is. It has been so eye-opening. It has been so eye-opening to really do this work, right? And to really take a look back and see all the things that we held ourselves back from and the things that we were so terrified of,
Mhm.
right? And it's funny to say, oh, we were terrified of calories, but like we were terrified of calories. We were terrified of carbs. We were terrified of too much protein, not enough protein, too much this, not enough this.
That's
And yeah, and
mm,
for the people who don't understand our lived experiences, who just think, oh, you're just lazy, oh, you're just this, oh, you're just that. Like, you don't understand the mental gymnastics,
Oh my
right?
God.
That
Yes.
like I
It's
I
heavy,
will rant.
literally.
Please go. Please.
No, it's heavy physically and mentally, and I think a lot of people don't understand it, and they see people that are bigger and they think, oh, it's not that hard, just eat less, move more. It's such an oversimplification. It's so nuanced and complex. The reasons why people are in bigger bodies, it might be hormonal, it might be that they've got an eating disorder. Some people are just bigger. And I think there's a lot of judgment out there. But I think, saying to someone, I'll just eat less is like saying to someone with depression, I'll just cheer up. It's not as easy as that. And we
Yeah.
shouldn't be saying that. I've got my favourite phrase, not trying to play trumps or anything, but I always say, if I'm not sitting on your face and you're not paying my mortgage, what I weigh, what I look like is none of your business.
Hell yes. We love it.
that's good.
We love it.
That's good.
I literally I have one photo like pinned on my Instagram, and it's a picture I took in this sweatshirt that says something along the lines of don't be afraid to sit on his face. If he dies, he dies. You know?
Yes,
Like, what a way to go. You're welcome.
I love that. Yes, you're welcome.
I do think what you said about like a lot of your young life was hearing women that you respected talk in this way is something that a lot of people relate to. And it's not, this is certainly not messaging we only get from women. I think men show up as our worst trolls online for our experiences. But it's such a common way that women are taught to relate to one another, and to just justify any decision they make. If they want to get a cookie, if they want to go to the vending machine in the middle of the workday, they just feel like they have to apologize, or justify any action that has to do with consuming. And I do think it's really powerful to have more and more and more women um, doing the opposite messaging. Like it needs to be something that we hear from women we respect and women we look up to, that there are other ways of doing things. So I love seeing women authors and women getting out there on their platforms talking about it and just showing there's other ways even to relate to other women, that it doesn't have to come through a self-deprecating comment about their eating or things like that, right? Because we do then internalize it as like, well, then I need to apologize if I decide I need a snack, and it's just exhausting.
The last chapter of my book is actually about breaking the intergenerational cycle of diet culture, and I think that's so important that we teach kids now that like to just they don't have to finish their plate because there are
Mhm.
kids starving in Africa. Like you don't need to say that because it can really cause some damage, and they don't need to eat up and they don't need to eat more, and you shouldn't be commenting on a child's appearance or body or anything like that. All the research I did for the book showed that weight stigma does actually have more of a detrimental impact on somebody's health than actually carrying more weight.
Yep.
And so I
Yes.
think we just need to stop, and that's why I do call it out now. But I mean, I hear it all the time. I think I was in a restaurant or something the other day, and I heard this woman sort of saying like she couldn't eat this, and oh, it's not worth the calories, and I'll have to earn that and burn. And I was thinking, oh no, we're not doing that, are we? So I
No.
think it's good. We do need to be calling that out 100%. But I have hope that things are changing.
I think I think it's so important what that chapter of your book, right? That work that you're doing. Um, because even when we started this podcast, I didn't realize, and I've been doing this work for several years now, but I didn't realize I would have told anybody that my mom never made me feel any kind of way about my body. She never did. But then as we started doing the podcast and doing, more of the work and really diving into it, I realized that it was the way that my mom talked about her body, right?
Exactly.
And now I'm going through a divorce and I'm actually living with my mom, and I hear it now and I can't unhear it, right?
Mm.
And I never really realized that the way that she talked about her body and the way that she talks about herself really framed a lot of the way that I felt about my body. But it's also like I would never blame her for that because, you know, I carry that, but she carries it from her mother before her and her mother before her. And and I think that's what's so powerful about what you're doing, what we're doing of it stops with us, you know?
100%. Yeah, I think, yeah, there's like a little section in the last chapter of my book called Don't Blame the Mums. And for a really long time, I resented my mum because she was always on a diet, always eating something else, always criticizing her body. And I blamed her a lot for my issues with food. It wasn't just her, my dad as well said some very unkind things and didn't, do that great in terms of navigating my weight and my body and stuff. But I think actually, when I learned that she was as much of a victim of diet culture as much as I was like, okay. And actually, I started to rethink. And I think some people have really complex relationships with their moms and they're not kind and they're not willing to change and not willing to listen. In which case, like, my opinion is always, see you later, like, there's the door. But I think if you can have a conversation and say, this is how you spoke, this is how it's affecting me and has affected me, and hopefully if you've got a good mom and she's open to it, she can listen and understand and try and do better. But it's hard for them too because they didn't have, like, social media gets such a bad reputation, but I also think it's amazing because we get representation now and we get our voices are out there and amplified, whereas they didn't have that. They were just given these magazines on TV shows, and that was gospel. They were just sold like, this is how you need to act and look as a woman. So I think in many ways it was harder.
Yeah.
I think they were, and along those same lines, they were taught not to question,
Yeah.
right? They were taught not to question. And as much as I wish I could say that my mom was like fully on the other side of it now, I do see strides that she's making in being more comfortable with advocating for herself, for asking for, accommodations, for asking for things that just make life a little bit easier. And I'm like, if that's what we can get, then I will take that, right? Because I've just seen her for so long be terrified to take up space. And I was too. I was too. And I think, it's so funny you keep saying if we can just change it for one person, that's like our whole thing. And that's been my whole thing for so long. If I can just change it for one person. And I'm starting to see it in my mom, and I'm like,
Right.
shit, if I just change it for my mom, then I love that.
Yeah.
I'm
Oh,
not gonna
bless
cry.
you. That's amazing. That's
Not
amazing.
today.
Well done, you. No, you should be really proud of that. Like, that's incredible.
Yeah, I do think it was I did notice that moment where you said about your mom talking to you, because one of the things that I think is interesting about this work is because we're doing it online, we often hear about the effects of it more from strangers
Mm.
than we do about the people who actually know us in our day-to-day lives, Been doing this for a decade in terms of at least putting myself out there and talking about fatness as like part of my identity and things like that. And I would say it's only been in like the most recent year or so that I've heard family members start opening up to me. My sister's been talking to me about things. My aunt's been watching the podcast and she started seeing a food therapist. Like, so it is a different level of both feeling like, okay, the stuff I'm doing matters, as well as I don't know what the word is. Like, you realize that what you say does have effects on people,
Yeah, it's
and
quite validating, isn't it? Like,
it is quite validating. Yeah, and it's almost I don't know. Like, I feel the weight of the responsibility more. Because when people are online, I know they're watching a bunch of people and like they're getting the message from a lot of people they're following, and to what extent I play a role in that might be minimal, and I'm okay with that. Like, I don't need to be the biggest, person in their life that's influencing their thoughts. When it's people, in real life and you've seen them, they've heard you for 10 years and they're just now starting to get around to it. It's it's like this don't stop going, or like live it and people will hear it, and also like you have a responsibility. And so I can't just say something online and then show up in my life and not live up to that, or whatever. But like, I have a responsibility. I do affect people, and it just reminds me of how much weight our words have and how much weight our actions have around us, and how important it is to me to be a good influence or be a good ally or someone they can talk to about those things, because it really does have major life altering repercussions to it.
Yeah, definitely. And I think there's a lot of people, I think like influencers in general and people on Instagram and in the public eye, they get a bad reputation because I'm going to be honest with you, a lot of them are twats. And so it's really hard sometimes to cut through the noise and
Oh
be
my
like,
God, I'm obsessed
I'm
with
really,
you.
like, I'm genuine, like, you know, because when on the days where I think, oh, I don't want to do this anymore, I like literally see an absolute dickhead. Like, I just think, oh no, that's why, yeah, because
Yep.
I don't want to follow people like that. My philosophy is always, would I have a pint with you in the pub? Like, are you a nice person? And if the answer is yes, then, you know, then I'll follow you. So I'm really, really like careful with like who I follow and like I curate my feed, like you were saying, I think earlier. I think that's really important. I think we have a responsibility on ourselves to do that so that we are, you know, not living in an echo chamber, but that we're surrounded by like good people and good messages. And you might not always agree with everything I say because my personal experience is mine and it's and my life and experiences have shaped it. But I think that's the beauty of it, isn't it, as well? It's like, I don't know all the details and ins and outs of your life, but I know that what you're saying is shaped by that. And so I go, oh, that's an interesting perspective. I might not agree with it, but I think that's really important.
Yeah, absolutely.
We have this like running joke that because people have called, you know, the fat positive or fat acceptance or whatever, they've called us a cult, right? So we have this running
Right.
joke that we're a cult. And so we literally sometimes we chant like one of us, one of us. And I just literally like everything that has come out of your mouth, I just this whole time I'm just like, she's one of us. She's one of
Oh,
us. And it's
no, I feel that.
and we're one of you. We were gonna talk about plus size fashion, but honestly,
Yeah, I think
people should just follow you because
well, I do kind of wonder, like, where do you feel like you're going next? Like, where do you feel
Ooh,
like
good
you want to,
question.
where's your aim now? Because I know, again, you're doing these in-person events. Are you wanting to just continue doing body confidence work? Like, where's your attention at?
Oh, good question. I don't know. What do I want to be when I'm grown up? I still don't know.
Same girl, 36 and still figuring it out.
I'd love to like I'm not just be an influencer basically. Like, I think you can probably tell from this interview like I'm struggling a little bit with that at the
Yeah, that
moment.
identity.
Yeah.
So yeah, so like I'd love to do more in-person stuff. Like I really love and want to like be around people and like help people, whether that's like, so with the book, that was like I threw myself into that. That was like a passion project. I had the podcast as well. And so at the moment I don't really know. I think we'd love to do some more live shows for the Same Dress Different Bodies series that we're doing all around inclusive like fashion. But the honest answer is I haven't got a clue. My other dream, my ultimate dream, and it's honestly been a dream since I was 15 years old, is to have my own plus size clothing company that is like not fast fashion, not kind of like too premium, just like, you know, clothes that we want to wear that are like properly made for us.
Yeah.
That would be my dream, but I genuinely would not know how to start. So maybe one day we'll see.
Like, well, you have 3 customers
I
right
was
here.
gonna say, yeah, yes, that. I know
Yeah.
it seems like you work with Simply Be a lot, and if they ever did a celebrity line with you, I will be calling my friends in the UK, being like, "Please order me this. I will send you hundreds of dollars to ship it to me. I will find a way to
Well,
bootleg that shipping to the US."
Like
I'll sort
shipping,
you
that's
out, girl.
funny.
Don't you worry. We're best friends now. It's fine. I'll sort
Oh
you
my
out.
God, I love that so much for us.
I am very excited to see what you do next. I think you have done such a beautiful job with the spaces that you are creating and the work that you're already doing, and I think it has had such a natural flow for you because you are just being so authentic. So I have no doubt that big things are still to come, and we can't wait to see what they're going to be.
Thank you. And likewise, like you three are amazing. You're smashing it. Like, what absolute queens. Like, thank you so much for having me. It's been such a joy.
Oh, thank
Thank
you.
you
That's
so
very
much,
kind.
Laura.
Yes.
We do like our little podcast here. We're having a little fun. We're crying together, laughing together, and most importantly, doing the work together. So
Yeah.
It definitely
Yeah.
helps having someone do it with you for sure.
You can tell it's such a great name as well. Yeah. Well, good luck and like long may it continue. I think you're amazing.
Thank you so much, Laura.
Yes.
It's been just amazing.
I've heard little tippy taps from your dog, and now I'm like, I have to go on Instagram and see what her dog looks
Oh my God, her
like.
dog is so
Hang on,
cute.
wait.
Oh yes, okay. I didn't want to ask, but I also wanted to ask.
He's so cute.
Oh, Oh my gosh.
He's so cute.
We do have a dog mascot, which is Alyssa's dog Lucky.
Look at those
Oh,
floppy
yeah.
ears.
This is her dog
Look
voice
at
that's
those
coming out.
floppy ears.
I love.
Oh my god, he's so
Aw,
cute.
so cute.
He's honestly the love of my life. Like Matt, my husband Matt says to me all the time, he's like, "You love the dog more than you love me," and I'm like, I am obsessed with him.
Yeah.
Look at
Yeah.
him.
Oh.
How can you not be?
Listen, we know where they rank, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
He's so cute.
So we hope you have so much fun at your stepmom's birthday get together.
Yes.
Thank you
And
guys,
Yes,
and
yes,
yeah,
yes.
best of luck with it, and lots of love, and I'll speak to you really soon.
Clearly, I had a great time.
a little bit of a fangirl, but you know,
A little.
Fangirl.
you know, we love fangirling for the girls who are doing it.
I will say,
fangirling for the girlies.
Allie did make me smile every time that she went to talk because she always went like, you know, I've been following you for a really long time and I really love your stuff. Like, and before she added anything, she like hyped her up and I was like, Allie, play it cool.
I clearly am not good at playing it cool.
No, but I loved how like genuinely excited you were. Like I really wanted you to have that moment because I felt it.
Yeah.
Like, listen, if Lizzo comes on the podcast, I'm going to be like, da, 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 Lizzo, da. I don't even know if I'll actually be able to say words. I'll be frozen into the spot.
That's
So-
fair. That is
So
fair.
I think you did a great job. I could not stop laughing and like smirking to myself because every time you were like, yeah, you know, I watched you on every episode and
I do come off a little stalker vibe. I'm like, oh yeah, I watch all of your
Yeah, there was
stories.
one
I see all
time
of
you're
your
like,
posts.
I
Yeah, I
watch
saw-
everything you post, and I was like, like you felt like Big Brother over there. But you know, it's a happy Big Brother. You're
That's
a
fair.
celebratory Big Brother.
Sure,
but that's
sure,
okay.
sure.
We can give you a little shit for it. And also like, I think it is really,
She's worth fanning over.
yeah.
Oh, 100%.
yeah, she's really cool.
100%. I absolutely loved it. I loved our whole conversation just talking about, you know, her journey through the Great British Baking Show or the Great British Bake Off if you're in the UK. And talking about now her social media presence
Yeah.
and of course her book. Oh my
Yeah, I'm
God.
gonna go read her book.
Yeah.
I wanted to before we did the podcast. I am in the middle of a series and I don't like stopping what I'm doing to pick up another one.
Yeah.
So I'm reading right now for Patreon Book Club. I'm trying to finish the series so I'm prepared, and then I am going to read her book because I do feel like I will. I feel like I'll feel really seen from that book.
Yeah.
But she's definitely someone I'll go grab a drink with. Like the vibes were so
Oh,
good.
we were
She's-
invited.
Yeah.
We were invited.
Check it.
Laura, we're going to hold you to it.
For the audiobook girlies, she does narrate her own book. So that's
oh,
really
maybe
exciting.
I will do that instead.
Yeah. The last chapter she talked about, I think, is an interesting one because there can be resentment towards the people who made you start feeling that way about your body. But we do have to remember, like, everybody's in a system much larger than their individual self when it comes to this, right?
Absolutely.
So I really appreciated her talking about that and then also talking about her experience with her mother and
Yeah.
discussing kind of her mother's feelings and how she's affecting the way her mom thinks about her body and about dieting. So I think that's really cool.
I really did enjoy that conversation, and I do really look forward to what she does next with her platform because it is so awesome. And if you don't follow her on Instagram, please go check her out because she does some really fun, bright content.
Her screen name on Instagram is at laura.adlington. We'll put it down in the description with a link so you can easily go follow her.
Amazing. Amazing. This has been this has been a dream for me. But,
Yeah.
but yeah, no, this has just been a great conversation. And yeah, I truly feel like Laura is one of us.
One of us for sure.
One of us.
Yes, and we will keep on sharing some really cool fat people doing cool things out in the world because, like she said, life doesn't have to be small. If you're big, you can go out and do lots of big things.
What a send off.
Yes.
Well, we're fat,
We're fab.
And we're friends.
and we will see you next time.
Bye.
Bye.